Hello everyone, this is a review of the Sunny Health and Fitness Compact Motorized Treadmill. It's a great little unit I got a few weeks ago. It's been really great for me, and I was surprised that there weren't more reviews on it on YouTube, so I thought I'd do one myself. I've been considering getting a treadmill for a while, but there were 4 things that I was concerned about that I wanted to check on before I bought one. The first was the size of the unit. I don't have a lot of space, I didn't want it to take up too much room. The second was the amount of noise that it would make. A lot of these units seemed like they would really make a lot of noise and just wouldn't be appropriate for an apartment. 3 was the amount of maintenance. I saw that some people really complained with some of the models of how much maintenance they had to do. And the 4th was the price. I didn't want to spend a lot of money on something given that I was already going to the gym and exercise outside and all those other kind of things. After looking through a lot of different potential units, I finally settled on this one. Mainly because the chief complaints about it were about the angle of the deck, that it was too steep to walk on. Whereas a lot of the other units had problems with maintenance, with noise, with the belt getting off of the rollers and things like that. So I wanted something that was going to work and be solid, and the incline problem was one that I felt like I could deal with. With that in mind, let's talk through all the different issues with this device, from assembly down to maintenance. Let's get started. So in terms of assembly, the unit was actually much simpler than the directions online made it seem. There's actually only about half an hour of building that you have to do, and most of it is just putting some very basic parts together. Of course, one of the features that draws a lot of people to this treadmill is its ability to fold. So to unfold it, all you have to do is pull out this pin, and the deck falls down to the ground very simply and easily. That's all you need to do. There's also a security knob, which I've removed right now, and I'll tell you more about why later, that you can use to hold this firmly in place. You just turn the device on with the switch over here, and after a couple of beeps, it's ready to go. Start it off, choose your speed, and you're off and walking. So here I've moved it up to 2 miles per hour. Now you can notice, just by looking at it, that the deck is at quite a significant angle. And this was a problem for a lot of reviewers. A lot of people even said that they returned the unit because the deck was at such a strong angle. We'll get to how we can get around that in a second. To stop the unit, you can either hit the stop button, which of course will stop the treadmill. If you have the magnetic key attached and it gets pulled out, that also stops the unit instantly. To fold the unit back up, all you have to do is reach down to the bottom here, pull up the deck, and put in the pin. And there you go. Once it's folded up, you can see that the profile is pretty slender. The deck is right in line with the bar, which makes it look pretty reasonable. And you can see that there's wheels down here, so if you tilt it, you can roll it on those wheels. I don't tend to do that because I have it in the place that I want it. If you look down at the bottom, you'll see some foam pads that I have underneath each of the touch points of the device. These are just these 4-inch by 4-inch cushioning pads that are meant specifically for items like treadmills, and they do a lot both to protect your floor or your carpet, but also to reduce the noise and vibration that comes from a device like this, which is one of my concerns. Of course, walking at an angle is quite a bit more strenuous than walking on something flat. So I began to look into different ways to be able to hold up the end of the deck. So as I was saying, the first thing I did was to remove the safety pin here, which just bolts the deck when it's at that angle to the surface. Doesn't really do that much, it just holds it in place and prevents the device from vibrating too much. Then I tried a few different items, but what I found worked really well was this Gaiam fitness step, which is an ordinary aerobic step that comes with 2 risers that are in the body. It's about $30. And with the risers in place, it's the perfect height to essentially make the treadmill level. So if I now put this down here behind the treadmill, lower the deck onto it, you can see that the device is almost perfectly level. Starting off at 0.5 miles per hour, as it always does, and I like to usually take my walks at around 4.5 miles per hour. This is where it's going at 4.5 miles per hour. But one of the things to keep in mind is because the deck of this treadmill is so short, you probably want to hold onto the bar the whole time that you're using it. It's really easy to let your feet slip up the end. I'm not very tall, I'm only 5'8", but if you're taller than that, it might feel a little challenging to keep a fast walking gait on this deck. Now let's talk a little bit about treadmill maintenance. One of the main things you have to do with a treadmill is you have to keep the rollers lubricated all the time. And this is something you need to do, maybe once every month or couple of months, but you'll definitely need to do it as soon as you get the treadmill. Now, the manual is pretty clear that you need to lubricate before you start the treadmill, but unfortunately they don't give a lot of details on how much lubricant you should apply. The device comes with this tiny little bottle with about 20 milliliters of lubricant in it. Honestly, you should probably put 30 milliliters, so there's really not even enough in there even for an initial lubrication. But if you do use what comes in the box, use all of it. Don't worry about trying to save it for later, just buy additional lubricant. The other thing that you'll find is that in order to lubricate it properly, what you're supposed to do is lift up the deck and then reach under as far as you can in the middle, and reach under as far as you can in the middle of the other side. Place the lubricant along the front top area of the deck, and then you turn on the treadmill at a low speed, and then the lubricant just gets spread by the belt to the whole deck. Now, with the little applicator they have, that's hard to do, but if you buy the spot-on lubricant, which is unsurprisingly the most popular treadmill lubricant on Amazon, it comes with this great applicator that you can use to push right all the way to the center, and you can actually just do it for this treadmill. From one side, you could probably cover the whole thing. Every month or so, you'll want to put in about 30 milliliters of lubricant, so buying additional lubricant is going to be a key part of maintenance with a device like this. The last aspect I want to talk about is noise. Living in an apartment, I wanted to make sure that the unit wasn't too noisy for my neighbors. So I wanted to compare it to the noise levels of other things I have in my apartment. For that, I'm using a sound level meter program for my phone, which is not perfect because it's not calibrated, but it's good enough to be able to tell the relative levels of sound. So if I'm completely quiet, I'll see about 25 decibels of sound on this meter. If I'm talking the way that I am for this video or for a conference call, it's about 55 to 65 decibels on the meter on this device. So I wanted to kind of see, given those kinds of ranges, where does this treadmill fall? So I'm going to start by just turning it on. So running at 0.5 miles per hour, it doesn't affect the noise level in my apartment at all. If I take it up to the speed I usually like to use for walking, 4.5 miles per hour, about 45 decibels, so still quite a bit less than my talking, which is at about 60 or so. Next I'm going to get on the treadmill and see how much noise that makes. So right next to the unit on the ground, which is the loudest the unit's going to be, hearing both my foot thumping as well as the device itself, it's averaging between 58 and 62 decibels. So about the same level of me speaking at this volume, which is pretty good. It's actually quieter than I expected it to be. For comparison, I also have an exercise bike, and the exercise bike, when I'm going at full clip, is more like 55 decibels, whereas this is more like between 57 and 62. So this is louder than the bike, but still, given that it's quieter than or about the same noise level as when I'm just speaking, I'm doing that throughout the day on my conference calls and so on. So I feel like this is a pretty reasonable level of noise for a unit of this kind of capability. So I hope this has been a helpful review of this unit. One thing I should mention is that since I'm 5'8" and about 130 pounds, if you are of a different size, you may find other kinds of things work or don't work for you with this treadmill. For instance, being able to rest the back on a step, or the stride length that I have are going to change if it was somebody who was much taller, and also the noise level would change a lot with somebody's weight. So those are things to keep in mind as you're evaluating different treadmills. That's all I have to say about this unit. If you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments below and I'll answer as many of them as I can. Thanks for watching.